Welcome back to Adulting and Money. This is the last video that will be going over this exact spreadsheet and how to use it. And from here, we are going to move into the next steps. If you remember from our previous episodes, we are going over a strategy for how to manage your money in a way that brings you some resilience and some peace to your relationship with money and hopefully your relationship with your spouse. This is not an attempt to sell you anything. I don't have a book. I don't have merchandise. This is just a simple spreadsheet that you can do with no programming, no advanced computer skills. It just requires a little bit of work and you can do this just as easily. To get started on this, what we're going to do is start where we left off, which is where we have James and Mary's income right here. And this is just the average income for guys and girls. This is the average joint bills that they have together, rent, power, water, etc. These are all the things that a family or a couple would have regardless of where they are. They're going to have most of these bills. There's a couple of extra ones in here just so you can see where they would go. Down here I have what I call envelopes, your emergency fund, your continuity fund, and we covered all these in previous videos. And then we have which ones that go to savings and which ones that stay in your joint checking account, which are in the white. The blue is your joint savings. Then in the last episode, we went over individual expenses. So this is James's car insurance, this is Mary's car insurance, cell phones, gym, Xbox, etc. And again, that's all in the last video. So in this video, like I said, we're going to get into their slush fund, which is just what I call it. You can call it whatever you want, the kitty, the pot, whatever. This is play money that you can do whatever you want with. You can also spend this money on food, buy extra snacks, buy a really nice bottle of whiskey or a box of cigars, whatever. Anything that you do that is just a luxury for you, that's what this is. So as you can see, the next step is to create the deposit amounts that we're tracking for James and Mary so we know exactly what it is. I just copied the colors down and the font into a cell that you can actually see that matches, and from there we need to populate the actual spreadsheet itself. So here I've put the total deposit for James and Mary, and if you look at this number right here for James and this number right here for Mary, I will show you the formula up here in the bar. It is this right here, which is G30. Down here, this is G30. This is what James owes for all of the bills, all of the envelopes. That's his total right here, plus the number of things that he has coming out of either the joint checking account in the light orange, you can see transfer joint checking, or the dark orange, which is coming off of their joint credit card. And the formula for this is the cell down here plus, and zoom in on this if you need to, the sum, in so parentheses, sum, another parentheses, open parentheses, and then drag this right here. So it's L3 through L6 and two closed parentheses. You can see that right here. And then what that does is adds up everything that's going to come out of joint that James needs to pay. So I did the same thing for Mary. She has H30 down here, plus the sum of her bills that are coming out of either the joint checking account or off of the joint credit card. And then you add all those up with the exact same formula that we used for James, which is the cell down here, H30, plus open parentheses, sum, open parentheses, P3 to P5, drag and highlight all three of those blocks, and then two closed parentheses because you have to close out the sum of the P3 to P5 as well as adding the H30. So you close both of them out. So on the next line, I put deposit amount with $876 for James and $737 for Mary. What this does is it's this divided by 2. So all I did was select the cell up here. So it's equals, in this case, L13 divided by 2. And the exact same thing for Mary, except hers is a different cell. So hers is P13 divided by 2. So we know they have to have 2 deposits each of the required amount to make their deposit. In James's case, he has to make 2 deposits of $876. Mary has to make 2 deposits of $737. Now what we want to do is we want to have these tracked as they are paid, not projecting what they're going to be, but we want to track them in real time when we pay them so we know exactly how much is in the account. So what I've done here is create a cell down here that takes the total deposit amount and subtracted the 1 April deposit for James and the 15 April deposit for James, because that's the days we're saying he gets paid. as you can see over here, 1 April, 15 April. So he has a deposit. Every time he gets paid, he needs to make at least a deposit into the account to cover all of the bills and envelopes that he's responsible for. Now what we're going to do with this is, I'm going to show you this formula real quick. It's equals, and then click this cell, minus this cell, minus this cell. So the total amount of bills that he owes minus his first deposit minus his second deposit. If you get paid more than twice a month, then you're going to actually have this big long chart of here's what I owe minus this, minus that, minus this, minus that. And it's just going to go down the list until you get to the bottom. What we want to see is that make sure that the total deposit and the remaining is going to tell us how much we still owe. So in this case, we know James gets paid twice a month. He needs to put $876 in. Now we also know Mary is supposed to pay $737 twice a month. And this is how much she's supposed to deposit total. So what we'll do is we're going to walk through this real quick, and I'm just going to show you. So on the 1st of April, James has a paycheck, and then he needs to deposit $876. So he puts in $876, not just on the spreadsheet. He has to actually put it in the account. He puts it in. Tells you me the remaining for James is $876. This is pretty simple. So on the 8th of April, Mary gets paid. So she puts in $737. Now we can see down here it says $736 is the remaining. What this does is tells us there's a rounding idiosyncrasy of the spreadsheet when we're doing rounding. Remember, we're rounding up and rounding down, whether it's based on whether it's a deposit or a debit on the account. What this does is tells Mary her next deposit is $736. On the 15th of April, James gets paid again. He puts in $876. Now he doesn't owe any more money. On the 22nd of April, Mary gets paid again. She puts in $736, and now all of their bills are paid. One thing I want to point out is before I get too carried away and forget where I'm supposed to be, I want to organize these a little bit and keep track of them in a way that makes sense with the rest of the spreadsheet. So when I look at the awaiting confirmation and the dones, then I know these two right here, since James hasn't been paid yet, these are yellow. Mary hasn't been paid yet, these are yellow. So when James gets paid, he needs to put the $876, and then he needs to turn this green so he knows he's paid it. I also recommend that you track this elsewhere on either another spreadsheet or possibly inside your banking account. Well, you'll still have to go back and look at your banking account regardless to make sure you made your deposits, but it's worthwhile keeping track on this spreadsheet. And this will make more sense when we get into spreadsheet management after this video. Now here's the exciting part. I want to know how much play money do I have, the slush fund, the kitty, whatever. How much money do I have to blow on whatever ridiculous things I want to buy? If you want to spend your money on it, how much money do I get to spend? That's what the question is. And this spreadsheet will help you determine how much money you have to blow on whatever ridiculous thing you want to have at the end of the month. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a formula that subtracts all of our bills, all of our expenses, and tells me how much money is left over in my account when I'm done. All right, so right now I know James has $192 per month to blow on anything he wants. This may or may not seem like a lot of money to you. However, remember, we're starting with just averages of normal bills, normal income, just based on the average in America. In this case, what I did with James is I created a formula that covers how much he gets paid, his total income right here, and then his total bills. Let me get myself out of the way. Oh, my chair's in the way. Right here, you can see this, excuse me, right here, that's where his total bills are. And then going back to this, that last number that we have right here, this is his total expenses. Those are his, that he's decided he is spending those things on. If it's not here, and not up in bills, it's down here. So if James comes up with something else that he wants to subscribe to, or something that's a monthly thing that he wants to spend money on, he can put it up here, which will reduce his slush fund. But what it does is it actually makes it where it's actually budgeted for. In the same way, Mary has the exact same thing. We used her number right here. I'm not too much in the way right now. This plus this, and we subtracted all of that from her paycheck over here. All right, that's going to conclude the entirety of the whole spreadsheet that you need to track your bills. Now I'm going to give you a heads up for the next video. It's going to be how to manage this spreadsheet as a continuity tracker to keep track of your money from month to month. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a new tab, duplicate it, and then we're going to copy all the numbers over, and then we're going to adjust it as needed. Again, that's going to be the next video, and I encourage you to watch that. I appreciate your time. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing if you choose to, and we'll see you in the next video.